Welcome to this new video where we're going to talk about new information on Forza Horizon 6. I have quite a few things to share with you. There is information that is completely official and comes from a new trailer that was released yesterday, on February 9, 2026 by the game's developers. It's brief but contains a lot of information, especially on new environments and map scenery. I'll also show you a series of images of the places that inspired these different environments, and you'll see that it's honestly extremely close to reality. And then, we'll talk about information regarding car customization. This time, though, it comes from sources that are a bit less official, more like leaks. Forza. So, we'll start with the official information. Since yesterday, a new 30-second clip was released by the developers about Forza Horizon 6 with quite a few new environments confirmed. It's true that the first trailer for the game focused on highways, mountain roads, and the city. Here, we have some wilder environments and, above all, environments that are a bit less urban. First, if we look at the first shot, here we have a kind of beach, and it's not the only one. We'll see later in this little clip that there's another beach that's confirmed, which looks a bit more touristy, a bit more vacant. But here, it's true that we're going to have quite a few coastal environments confirmed for Forza Horizon 6. In this first little sequence, there isn't a lot more information to say. So, yes, in the foreground, there's a boat. But don't think that this confirms that we'll be able to drive boats in Forza Horizon 6 like we would in the Crew. A small detail, by the way, is the presence of a lot of birds in the background, right there, just above the water. Of course, having birds in the game doesn't really change anything in terms of driving experience, but we know that these are the little details developers work on from one game to another. Vegetation, animals, to make the world feel even more believable. The second sequence is this shot, which I think is incredible. It reminds me of the coastal road we had in Forza Horizon 3, the one that ran along the east side of the map. That was my favorite road, really, I loved it. It's a big highway, or at least a fast road, along the edge of the mountain where you'll be driving partially over the water. And what's pretty cool is that we know what place it's inspired by. It's inspired by this little bridge that I'll show you in a screenshot, the Sekibe Bridge. Keijo. Sorry, I mispronounced it. I'll add pictures during editing. Forza Horizon 6 will be inspired by this real place. I encourage you to visit and see it for yourself. On the Forza Horizon 6 map, we have extremely realistic environments. Honestly, this road looks like it's going to be incredible. So, here we have new images that seem to confirm that the Forza Horizon 6 map will be much less flat than the one in Horizon 5. And that's a very good thing. The next shot is quite interesting, not necessarily because of the scenery, even though there's a good chance it's set in small fishing villages, coastal villages, like the rest of this trailer. What's quite interesting is that all the NPCs, or at least a large part of them that you see in the background, are wearing masks. You know, breathing masks. It's something that's very common in Japan. Even outside of epidemic or pandemic periods or anything like that, the Japanese have gotten used to wearing masks in public places for decades now. So, that was reproduced in the game, and I think it's the developers' intention to show that as well, that they've done, let's say, a job, to make the world as authentic as possible and as close to reality as they can. Third image. Now, this is really the kind of environment I'm really looking forward to exploring in Horizon. The little fishing villages like this. Well, once again, it looks very beautiful, very detailed. There's not much more to say about it, except that in the foreground, on the left, there's a little K-truck. These are mini utility vehicles that are very popular in Japan. So there's a good chance these vehicles might be reserved for NPCs. But who knows? Maybe we'll also be able to get them as players in the game. And as for drifting with them, it might not look like it. But these kinds of customized vehicles are actually really popular in Japan. The next shot? Well, we see the return of the boat. Again, just because there are high-quality boats doesn't mean we'll be able to drive them in the game, but it's true that the level of detail on the boat, which will just be a background element, is still very high. We have small license plates on the boat. You can see seagulls flying in the background and others on the ground to the left of the boat. Honestly, it looks like the level of detail is even more advanced than what we had back in the days of Horizon 5. The next shot is inspired by a real place that was recreated in the game. It's called Myoto Iwa. I'll let you check on Google to see what it looks like. There are lots of myths and a whole bunch of traditions around these rocks, which are connected to Shintoism, the #1 religion in Japan. So, it's further proof, let's say, that the developers are trying to respect the local atmosphere and culture. And honestly, it's really beautiful, with the little beach around it. Here, you really get more of a vacation vibe, which we might have had a bit less of up until now in the rest of the game's trailer. And actually, that's going to continue a bit with the next image too. Once again, there's a boat, with mountains in the distance, and a sunset that's honestly stunning. The color grading and the choice of colors for Forza Horizon 6 are incredible. Next, we have another image that's inspired by a real place. Well, according to what players have found, it's the Torii of Peace, which is located in Hakone. So here as well, it's maybe a bit of a cliché element of Japanese scenery, but it's also something related to Shinto religion. It's something the game developers really couldn't ignore if they want, once again, to respect Japanese culture and try to bring as much of it as possible into Forza Horizon. So, what you should take away from this trailer is that even though the first trailer put a lot of emphasis on urban roads, there will be countryside, there will be fishing villages, there will be places that are a bit less urban, a bit more remote, a bit quieter. And overall, it shows through all the images we've seen here that the developers have really made a lot of effort to respect both the real environments they're inspired by, but also to add as many little details as possible, as many small elements of Japanese culture so that Horizon 6 isn't just a walking cliché about Japan. By the way, here's something quite interesting. I'll show you in the edit a little image I made on Google Maps, which actually shows all the areas featured in this trailer. And the least we can say is that these areas are still quite far from each other. So, indeed, they're all in the east of Japan. The fact that these areas are very far from each other doesn't necessarily mean that the map in 6 will be gigantic, but it still confirms that, once again, when it comes to the environments, the developers wanted to offer, let's say, a fairly varied sample of different settings, and they really went looking for places that are sometimes very well known, sometimes much more niche, sometimes almost completely in the north, and sometimes much further south. So, we're really going to have a condensed version of Japan in several hundred square kilometers, with areas that are extremely different and varied. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like in the actual game. And finally, I also wanted to share with you two little pieces of information that come from unofficial channels. This comes from leaks. There was an update that came out for Forza Horizon 5 a few days ago. And in this update, there are several texts in the game files that aren't displayed. On Horizon 5, they mention new customization brands. So this likely means Horizon 5 will get a big update soon, adding around 15 body kits. But I don't really believe it. Or it's like what happened a few months ago with Forza Motorsport in Forza Motorsport. There are texts as well that were found in the game files about parts and body kits. Brands that, in the end, were only confirmed for Forza Horizon 6. From one game to another, there are text blocks and all these brands present. They likely won't appear in Horizon 5 or Forza Motorsport, since both are dead games, but instead in Horizon 6. So here, we have a whole bunch of body kit brands that might come to Forza Horizon 6. And there's one thing in particular that I find really cool. It's that there's Ineos. Ineos only makes customizations for Ineos vehicles. It's currently the only vehicle that Ineos has for sale as a road car. It's the Ineos Grenadier, which, for now, isn't part of the official car list for Forza Horizon 6, but it's really cool. It's a radical vision focused on off-roading, like what Land Rovers were about 30 years ago. We'll see if that's true. These new images are exciting and really getting everyone hyped. We can't wait to grab our gear and explore these roads ourselves. If you noticed any other interesting things or details in these images, feel free to share them in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitch. Tonight, I'll be live, so don't hesitate to come follow me and subscribe to support the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. Actually, not even tomorrow. There will be another video tonight, so see you later. Ciao!